Hello, guys, and welcome to another interview here on Coin Bureau Clips. Now, we've got a really special guest for you today, and that's because we've got a good friend of the Coin Bureau Dubai fam, Mr. Michael Cito, aka Cryptocito, aka the King of Cosmos YouTube. So, Michael, how you doing, man?
What an intro. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
it. Honored to be on the show.
Yeah,
Obviously
it's
huge
a long
fans
time
and
coming, man. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a long
man.
time coming.
Yeah, it's been coming. But
Yeah.
yeah, appreciate the invite. Thanks.
Cool, man. Cool. So we got a lot of exciting things to go over, guys, in this video, and lots of insight alpha Mike is going to give on Cosmos ecosystem for sure. But I want to say, obviously, before we continue, if you guys are not subscribed to Cryptocito yet, then you're missing out. I'm going to leave a link to the channel below. I will encourage you guys to go and subscribe right there because a lot of inside alpha. I've personally been watching a lot of his videos to get some of that inside juices about what's going on in Cosmos. So I encourage you guys to go and subscribe right now. So go and do that. And then, of course, before we dive in, guys, as you know, nothing in this video is financial or investment advice, and please consult your financial advisor before making financial or investment decisions. So, Cito, let's dive right in, man. And Cosmos has had one crazy, year and past 4 months especially. So I'm quite, and people are saying it's like this Cosmos summer, leading up to the altcoin season, the Cosmos season, heading up to the next altcoin season. So I'm curious as to why do you think there's been this resurgence in Cosmos over the past few months?
Yeah, I think if you zoom back to 2022, right, when the bear market really kicked in, Cosmos got hit really bad by the Terra collapse because Terra was obviously the largest Cosmos chain there was. Largest liquidity across all Cosmos dexes and DeFi. So there was a big event. But I think after that, Cosmos is really like a developer ecosystem, right? It's full of OG developers that have been around in Ethereum, building even in the early days on Bitcoin stuff. So I think it's just, like an early kind of OG developer ecosystem. And I think throughout the bear market, especially after the Terra collapse, you've just seen like a lot of these projects like really pulling through, right? Through the darkest times when liquidity was drying out, when people were abandoning the industry. But I think what you're seeing now, like what you alluded to, this resurgence, I think it's just a natural result of like this whole hustling throughout the bear market, right? I know you're a big injective ninja, they pulled through big time throughout the bear markets. I know Eric Chan and the team, like they have just been hustling and grinding. And I think it was even like sometimes in the bear market, like you listen to people being super bullish and positive and you think like, this is almost like delusional, right? Like, do they not know that we're in a bear market? And some of the interviews I had in the bear market were literally like that. So but now you're seeing really the fruits of that, right? You're seeing a new kind of wave of builders joining the ecosystem, and you're seeing really like flagship chains and applications that are really filling gaps and like even creating new trends, right? I think the Celestia launch also had a huge impact about this recent Cosmos season. I think modularity is the name of the game right now. Anything that's modular is like automatically a multi-billion-dollar valuation. So yeah, I think it's a mixture of having a strong developer ecosystem, also having a strong and like fundamentally committed community, like a retail community. I think it's also something that Guy has always pointed out in his kind of Cosmos videos, and you guys on the channel, right, is that the Cosmos community is probably the least flashy one, but I think they're the most fundamental ones in the relative kind of analysis to other crypto communities, which makes it probably more resilient and sustainable. But yeah, I think those are some of the factors. Big launches, a lot of committed builders, developers, and just a exciting retail community.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I mean, Terra must have been a massive shock to the ecosystem. But you come back to Injective. When I was speaking to the team there, obviously it's like trying to get the people who are building in the Terra ecosystem to come over into other Cosmos chains and other Cosmos projects, as opposed to progressing to other chains and keeping it within the ecosystem. How much of that do you think is the community, and how much of it do you think is the tech, right? Like building on the Cosmos SDK.
I would say it's, probably half, I guess, because I think Cosmos, like the Cosmos core community, is also also means like the validator community, right? Cosmos is not just one chain that rules everything, but
Yeah.
is an ecosystem of sovereign layer ones, which means you also have to have an active community of validators, an active community of just contributors, right? And advisors and builders, right? That are not part of the core teams. But I think that's also what I'm including into the community, which I think is also very Cosmos specific. Cosmos doesn't necessarily have like a huge meme coin community, you know, like people that are maybe new to crypto or, you know, just want to ape into meme coins. Like you don't really have that kind of vibe on Cosmos yet, at least, maybe in the future. Maybe Hava coin will fix this. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
I would say half-half, yeah. Validator
Yeah.
community, core developer community, and just generally, you know, investors and the retail audience.
Okay, so I guess obviously you've been an OG in Cosmos for quite some time, right? Lots of people now are trying to like, get into the ecosystem and they kind of like thinking there's a lot of projects they're excited about and diving in on VC capital, but you've been there from the beginning, right? I remember we first mentioned you like 2 years ago or three, like in one of our videos about Cosmos people, channels to follow, and Cryptocito was out there in the thick of the
Yeah.
Cosmos community. So I'm curious as to originally you focused exclusively on the Cosmos ecosystem and projects in it. So I'm curious as to why you coalesced around and focused on that crypto ecosystem specifically. What particularly, even back in the early days, when you first got into crypto, it's like, first of all, how did you get into crypto? I think that's an important one that everyone wants to know about. And then secondly, why did you get into Cosmos specifically?
Yeah, so how I got into crypto was at my university studies in like early 2017. I just stumbled upon it. And my major is actually in economics, intercultural management, and Chinese. So I studied Mandarin actually at university. And as part of that course, I had one exchange year in Shanghai, China. So I moved there in 2018. And I figured, you know, that was the harsh bear market year where like crypto was going to go to zero and Bitcoin was dead. But I figured Shanghai really at the time was the epicenter of crypto. So I became part of the expat crypto scene there and started also going to events and then eventually started organizing events, which eventually led to what we're doing now with customers. And we can talk about that later. But yeah, I feel like really Shanghai was my kind of boost to get into the industry and to also have this fundamental conviction that crypto is here to stay, right, in the long term.
Mm,
So I kind of
yeah.
like made crypto my career decision back in 2018. And then 2020, sometime when COVID started, you know, at that point, I had lost all my money. I got scammed. I got hacked. I had coins on exchange that don't exist anymore. I sent
Yeah.
coins to wallet addresses, you know, to the wrong one. So I lost everything. So I did all these rookie mistakes.
Yeah.
And then COVID started and I just ordered a microphone and started making videos, right? In the beginning, it was just totally random. But then eventually, I think it took me 6 or 8 months to get to 1,000 subscribers. And
Mm,
at that time, I then put out a tweet basically saying that I have some Atom in my wallet. I have no clue why or where I bought them and what it does. Can somebody please explain it to me? And Jack Zempolin, who is one of the core IBC engineers, who actually helped to ship IBC, he just responded to my tweet and offered me to kind of walk through what IBC is on a call, right? So I took that call, and ever since then, you know, he introduced me to more people. I started doing interviews, met Sunny for the first time, you
yeah.
know, talking about Osmosis before Osmosis even went live. I just met all the builders and developers, right? So I really became kind of one of the first ones, or actually the first, alongside Liam, who is also a good friend of mine. We became the first ones to like properly cover the creation of Cosmos and IBC. And from there, the rest, I guess, is history.
The rest is history, man. So there's an important lesson in here for projects and ecosystems. If you guys want to get a top tier YouTuber to show your ecosystem in the future, you got to reach out to them when they're small and help them out because that basically will
Honestly, yeah.
endear them to you. Exactly. And then, yeah, that's a great way to think about it, right? Like, I mean, it's obviously those kind of ecosystems which are which are more than willing to help people out. That's a friendly environment, right? And that's kind of like
Yeah.
what I would like most of crypto communities to try and do, right? Is try and think about how do we onboard more users And it's not just about onboarding people who can use it itself, but in the perspective of onboarding people who can help onboard other people as well. So you create this sort of flywheel effect.
Get in here! Take a seat, sir. Go on. So tell me about these anxieties you've been experiencing. When did they first manifest themselves?
Well, you know, I think they first started when I got into crypto. I started to worry about all kinds of stuff.
Such as?
Well, I became anxious that I was spending, way too much on exchange fees. Like every time I made a trade, boom, more precious crypto gone. And I felt like I was missing out in other ways too.
What other ways?
Well, for instance, why didn't I get a sign-up bonus when I registered on an exchange? I mean, come on, they should be welcoming me with open arms.
That's a common feeling for many people in crypto.
Yeah, go figure. And I kept getting told to buy a hardware wallet to keep my crypto safe, but some of those things ain't cheap, huh? I mean, what's a guy to do?
Well, there's a cure for those concerns.
You mean medication?
No, I mean like the Coin Bureau deals page. It has trading fee discounts on top crypto exchanges. It offers sign-up bonuses of up to $60,000, and it has discounts on the best hardware wallets too.
You mean I just go to the Coin Bureau deals page and I'm cured?
Yeah, absolutely. Just head down using the link down below.
Okay, I'm on my way. Oh.
Let's take a look now. Let's dive into some of what's going on in Cosmos right now, right? And I want to get some Cosmos alpha. Let's give our viewers a little bit of inside alpha. So where should we be looking? Where should we keep our eyes out? What projects are you most excited about? The ones that are currently live, I suppose, and which potential plays are you looking into in the Cosmos ecosystem?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I think the uniqueness about Cosmos is that there's not one chain that rules them all, right? It's basically in that sense the app chain thesis that Cosmos pioneered versus the Fed protocol thesis, like the Ethereums, the Solanas out there, where you have one base chain that accrues all the value, right? So I think if you're saying, hey, I'm bullish on Solana, you just buy Sol, right? If you're bullish on Ethereum, you just buy ETH, you should be fine, right? You should benefit from the adoption and kind of value accrual in the long term. If you buy Atom, mistakenly, people think that you're exposed to Cosmos, right? But Atom is actually just another competitive layer 1 blockchain in the Cosmos ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
There's no fundamental value accrual for Atom for IBC, for example. So if IBC adoption explodes, Atom doesn't capture value of that. And there has been a conscious design decision, right? To basically decouple the mother chain in Cosmos from the creation and adoption of IBC and the interchain. So now you have to think, if that's not the case, what do I buy? How do I get exposure to Cosmos, right? And I think there's no direct answer to that. It really depends also what type of narratives, categories, verticals you're interested in. So for example, if you're an NFT person or a metaverse person, there are certain chains that are actually sovereign, independent layer 1 blockchains that are an app chain marketplace for NFTs, for example, right? Then there's a chain that is an app chain, L1, with its own coin, that's also there for staking, all these kind of basic things, that focuses on metaverse, right? If you look in DeFi, you have chains that are for DEXs, that are for certain DeFi protocols or lease protocols. And that's just the kind of architecture of Cosmos. I think there are still a lot of flagship chains, like, for example, Osmosis, right, has by far the largest IBC traffic. So I think there are some data points that you can look at and you can say, okay, there are certain projects and protocols and tokens that actually capture most of the traffic and kind of volumes in the interchain. Osmosis is one of them. When you talk about DeFi, Stargaze is the leader when it comes to NFTs. You have Stride, who is the leader for liquid staking, for example. So you basically have to go through each of these categories and narratives, and then you pick and choose your kind of best contender in that ecosystem, right? I think that's really the vision of this Internet of blockchains, of building out sovereign layer 1 networks that are all interconnected to each other through IBC without enforcing any dependencies or value accrual between those chains.
No, I got it, man. Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why there is so much of an explosion development on Cosmos, is because many people think that I personally also don't think that there's going to be one blockchain to rule them all, right? I think that
Yeah.
and the interoperability at play is something we've constantly been talking about in the channel, the importance of interoperability. But like, let's narrow then down to some of these potential verticals, right? Because there, as you mentioned, there's so many of these, and you've already mentioned some of these exciting projects, right? So one which we can talk about, I mean, the osmosis, for instance, right? Like, I mean, I've done a bit of a deep dive on this over the past few days. I think it's really exciting. I know I asked you personally, like, what do you think about osmosis? Like, so in terms of an investment play, the Osmo token, for instance, do you think it has potential? Why do you think it has potential, and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, Osmo is also my largest, one of my largest holdings. I think top 3 crypto holdings in total. I'm very bullish on the team, the vision. Like I said, they were actually the team that took IBC to the market. Sunny is one of the best and most respected developers in the ecosystem. So strong team, skin in the game, been around for many years, strong product market fit, and you have on-chain verification for that. And also throughout the bear market, like I said earlier, there were also some of these teams that were just grinding and hustling through. And also they implemented, value capture mechanisms with the Osmo 2.0 kind of proposal that went through during the bear market, reducing inflation at the same time to also kind of prepare the tokenomics for the bull run, which I think at one point is also going to play out. They also built in an MEV capture with ProtoRef by Skip that also generates now, I think, 7 figures on an annualized basis. So I think if you look at like the tokenomics, as in, does it accrue actual like revenue, the user demand and product market fit, I think osmosis is still the best play when it comes to like DeFi, right? So I think that's kind of, if you would want to narrow it down to one pick, I think osmosis, in my view, would be like, in terms of risk reward, probably the best play in Cosmos. Now there's a new wave of DeFi protocols in Cosmos. There's the Quasars, the Nolos, right, that are also like more app chain specific within DeFi, right? Building lending marketplaces and vault strategies for automated DeFi strategies. So I think you have a new wave, the new kids on the Cosmos block that also haven't been around in the previous bull run. So they're going to enter their first bull run this time. So yeah, I think in DeFi, there's a lot going on. You also have Neutron and Astroport, right? That is also a kind of like competing ecosystem in a sense to the osmosis. Kujira, exactly.
Yeah, obviously Injective.
Yeah. You have Sane Network now, which is also a huge ecosystem.
Say is gonna, right? Yeah, Say is crushing it. Yeah.
There's also like an interesting dynamics in Cosmos, which is that there are certain chains that are full-on Cosmos SDK chains, right? Like Say Network, for example. But you don't really see the Say Network team loudly bragging about being Cosmos, right? Same for DYDX. DYDX, when they launched their Cosmos chain, they even made a statement saying, while we love Cosmos, we use Cosmos, we don't want to like get too much involved in like community and drama and those kind of things, right? And they're not really like bragging about it, right? But there's still Cosmos underneath, right? Even Celestia is a full-on Cosmos SDK blockchain, right? But yeah, so you have a lot of these chains that are Cosmos, but they're not necessarily bragging about it. And that's also why I think Cosmos eventually is one of the best ecosystems, because we're not selling kind of the Cosmos narrative, but we're actually selling all these verticals and categories, right? Modularity, Fetch AI, which made huge waves recently with their merger proposal with Ocean and Singularity. Fetch is a full-on Cosmos chain as well, right? So, yeah.
What's your take on that merger, by the way?
I made a brief comment in a recent video where I basically said that I think generally it's a brilliant kind of idea. The only question that I have, and maybe I don't have all the information available, but is like, how is that merger going to look like in terms of the hierarchies and like decision making, right? Because now you have 3 teams.
Who's the big boss?
Founders and backstories and visions. Like, are they all fully aligned on a vision? And who is going to take the main big decisions, right? Strategic decisions. So, not sure about that, but generally, I mean, it's a big and bold bet on Crypto X AI as a as a narrative, which I think, you know, AI is like probably one of the most one of the safest narratives this bull run. Like it's just so big now with Nvidia shilling it, and you know all these big TradFi companies and funds. So bold move.
No, bold move. Yeah, I guess that's a good point, right? I remember there haven't been too many token. There've been examples of token mergers of projects before. I don't know if you recall Polygon when they merged. When Beck was in with Matic, was it still Matic at that stage? Polygon merged with Hermes, a ZK, 2020 time, and essentially was just subsumed. One was subsumed by the other, right? So that's basically it. One project team just rolls on. So you know it'll be interesting. I wonder which one of those projects. I mean, I think Singularity is probably the one that's had the most, engagement and development over the past few months. So maybe that will be the project or the team that will lead it. Who knows? But definitely we're interested to see if it evolves and it has to become a super AI play.
Yeah.
What other AI plays in the Cosmos ecosystem are exciting then, apart from just those?
Yeah, I mean, there's like AI kind of applications or like chains, like Fetch, for example. There's also Humans AI, which I've been covering sometimes on my channel, but never really done a deep dive. But they also, I think, have a partnership with NVIDIA. And they also have something very interesting for creators, which is why I'm so interested in that. They have this voice cloning and kind of voice translation into different languages model, like an AI model that's running on their chain, where you can basically upload content in whatever your language is, so like in English in my case, and then you have a model that basically translates it into Korean or German or Chinese or whatever. I think that's something really, really cool. But yeah, that's Humans.
Humans.ai.
Humans.ai, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Then I think there's a lot of like AI infrastructure, and I think that's also like an intersection with cloud, right?
Deepin.
We have the
like
Akash
Deepin and stuff,
network. Right? Yeah, Akash network. I think you guys have also done decent coverage over the past couple of weeks and months. Akash network, that's one that's also relentless.
Can I just say, sorry to interrupt, but like I remember last week I was watching a Cito video and he was talking about Akash, and he's like, guys, I have a feeling that AKT is going to get listed on Coinbase this week. And I was like, okay, interesting. Where does Cito got his ear to the ground here? Where's he speaking? Literally like 2 days later, AKT. There we go, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they got listed on Coinbase, so I think the asset is doing well, you know, and also the project, right, and the partnerships, integrations. Like I said, relentless hustling, similar to like Injective, you know, like I said earlier. I did an interview, I think, with Eric Chan in February of 2023. And then I did an interview, February, was it 2023? Yeah. And I did an interview the same week with Greg Ozuri from Akash. And it gave me the same vibes, you know, like they don't even like, I think they enjoyed the bear market because they could build, you know, without noise and external pushing, right? Because obviously in the bull run where everyone is so overexcited and the community is super kind of involved.
Devs are too expensive. Yeah, people move easily. Bear market builds resolve, right? You know, it's
exactly
true.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, and it's just too crazy. Yeah, in a bull market.
Akash is one of these. Yeah. Then I think there's also others like Kudos Network and AIOS. I think they're also like more kind of infrastructure plays. There's a lot more. I mean, I'm obviously missing a lot. That's also the thing. Like I sometimes get roasted, you know, because Cosmos is such a broad ecosystem, and I have lost overview of all the hundreds of chains and applications. So people always say, "Oh, you missed to mention that project or that project." Like it's just too much. But those are the main ones.
Yeah. Try covering too multi-chain coverage as general. It's kind of like, hell, man, like, well, it's just too much to do, too much. So eventually, you're going to have to start specializing within a particular narrative within AI and get a team member to come and like be a co-host with Cito over there and be like, covering a different narrative within it.
Exactly.
I actually did see you watch your most recent video on privacy narrative. I'm interested because your take is kind of like contrary to mine in the sense that I obviously in that video obviously talked about the importance of privacy. You talked about Monero, and like I was a big Monero fan. I am a big Monero fan, and I was very bullish on privacy. Like Monero was one of the first, apart from ETH, one of the first altcoins I bought, and I was super bullish on privacy back in 2018, and I bought it and the tech behind Monero and all that. But more generally, privacy, like I mean, you've seen what's happened over the past few months in terms of like how governments and regulators and exchanges have specifically targeted privacy coins and hit their liquidity on exchanges, removing them from trading. So I'm just curious as to why you think that it's an underrated narrative for the cycle.
Yeah, I think what I said in the opening in the video was basically that, I had this meeting or encounter with Riccardo Spagni, one of the lead engineers at Monero, right? And I asked him that because I also never really Fluffy Pony, yeah, I never really understood like why do we even need privacy coins, right? For me, it was always like malicious stuff, drugs and all these kind of illegal things, right? But then he just said, because it's a human right, right? It's like, everything should actually be private by default, right? So when he said it, it's just like, like that, I was like, actually, that makes sense, And what we always see, and you're right, like regulation is very strictly pushing against it, right? Delistings from Monero, and obviously the whole Tornado Cash story, which is super, super bad, obviously, for everyone involved, but also for privacy in general. But I still think there's a new generation of privacy projects, smart contract platforms specifically, that also have compliance built in, right? And that's kind of like contrary. I think Vitalik also made a tweet about this, I think more in the context of AI, but in terms of how cryptography is advancing, where you can have compliance but still ensure a decent level of privacy. And I think we need to get to this point where regulatories are not going to, lock up people, but at the same time, we're still empowering people on the privacy side of things, right? And I think there's interesting chains also native to Cosmos that are going to launch this year. We have Namada by Anoma. That's one that's highly anticipated. Also Penumbra and Fairblocks. I think those are 3 Cosmos native projects in that field, where I think like ZK privacy specifically is going to be interesting. But yeah, I love privacy as a kind of philosophical, narrative. I think there's a huge demand for it as well, and always will be. So yeah, that's just my general take on it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that especially for us crypto natives, and you appreciate and understand why transparent chains are, a hindrance now, right? Like everything you do, your entire transaction history, your financial history is on chain, can be viewed and stuff. It's just that I guess that's the right philosophical slant, 100%. But it's just like, do you think the general population, right, the average newbie coming into crypto and average person in general, use privacy as such an important factor in their life? And we've seen from a lot of the other examples, when it comes to, the NSA and all this other kind of stuff, people don't really, for convenience, people do a lot. For convenience, people do a lot. When CBDCs come out, people are like, oh, it's cool, convenient. I can go and tap I'm connected to the central bank. Oh, cool. How cool is that? They've given me some free CBDC coins, some digital euro. I want to spend that. That's cool, convenient. So we can go on forever. I guess I think it's like, I do agree. I think that philosophically, privacy is essential human right, especially financial privacy, as well as along Monero. But I think that in terms of mass adoption and mass awareness, privacy is one of those ones that people kind of like, they don't think they need it until they realize that it actually is very important. So
I agree, yeah. But I also want to like one more thing to that. It's like, I think one thing is like really your personal kind of financial activities, but I'm also thinking from a point of view for businesses and enterprise, right? In terms of like competitors, right? They don't want to disclose any sort of financial transactions or identities or client data or anything like that, right? So I think there needs to be also like a level of privacy on a business and enterprise level. And I think this is something that's probably more like a real world use case, which we're probably still far away from, also because regulation is not there yet. And we're still in the meme coin casino phase in crypto. Yeah. But yeah, I think this is also an interesting point of view to see like, okay, there's actually also like a real use case for that. That's beyond just like, okay, personal kind of privacy and empowering the individual.
Yeah, no, I agree. Actually, it's an interesting point you raised because, we've I don't know if you've heard of the project called Nillion. we invested in them like last year, Coinbureau, and they haven't hit TG yet. They're going through it, and they basically going to be developing this thing called nil. It's interesting called like nil message compute. So basically, an entire network, not blockchain based, that is going to allow for private interaction with data. And that's it, like the opportunity and the ability to compute and do decentralized computing, but in a way that data within this network and enterprises can share that data such that it isn't open to all, and it's all who read the smart contract. So it's another interesting project to look at when you look at the privacy perspective. But that's one that's on our radar for a launch later this year. Speaking of launches later this year and exciting projects on our radars, you've obviously mentioned a few on the privacy side of it. I mean, what are the other really exciting Cosmos launches coming out in the next few months? Some that you potentially, I mean, we've spoken about a lot of these between us and individually as well. But like for the fans, like which kind of projects should we be looking out for? Exciting launches this year.
So the most imminent one, I guess, is going to be Saga. Saga is going to be the gaming hub in Cosmos. And gaming so far has been, I would say, underserved in Cosmos. We don't really have a vibrant gaming ecosystem, which probably also goes back to what I said in the very beginning of the interview. Cosmos is just such a developer-heavy ecosystem. I think we need also more like infrastructure developers, is what I mean. I think we need more like actually application, user, and kind of retail-focused applications and networks, right? And Saga could be the one. I think Saga is the one that also does a lot of partnerships outside of Cosmos. They're also similar as in they're not Cosmos only, right? They have partnerships with Polygon, with Avalanche, and this truly interchain, multi-chain vision, right? And I think 200 plus games in their ecosystem. Yeah. So Saga is one. They're also launching with an airdrop, by the way, which I think we'll talk about later. Airdrops in general. But Saga is one. I think Babylon is also definitely going to have a big impact. Babylon is bringing Bitcoin staking to the world. This doesn't exist.
Bullish on baby, right now. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Bullish on baby, yeah.
Bullish on baby, yeah.
And that also helps secure. So Babylon is a full-on Cosmos chain as well, and they allow this concept that Bitcoin people can basically stake their BTC to secure proof of stake chains. So basically, they can start earning yield. And since Babylon is a Cosmos chain, they're starting off in the Cosmos ecosystem. There has already been a partnership, an integration announced with the Cosmos Hub. And I think it's going to be very interesting. And there's even an application on the Cosmos Hub called Lorenzo Protocol that is going to use Babylon technology to build a Bitcoin L2s as a service project on top of the Cosmos Hub. I haven't looked deeper into that. I also haven't followed too much the Bitcoin L2 stuff. I know it's super hot. It's just like 50 narratives in my head. And like that's the one I haven't really followed too much. But those are interesting things. And I think Babylon also, around the time when EigenLayer goes live, I think this whole restaking category, like you asked me earlier about Cosmos projects, I think looking at the restaking category, there's going to be a lot of projects from the Cosmos ecosystem that will capture market shares when EigenLayer goes live. Because when EigenLayer goes live, when the token launches, when the airdrop launches, 20, 30 billion plus valuation, I guess, I don't know. But everyone, like crypto Twitter, everything will be dominated with this one topic. And everyone will ask, what's the second best restaking play in Cosmos, in crypto, on Solana, on Avalanche, right? And in Cosmos, we have a couple of contenders. We have, like I said, Babylon. There's actually also close ties between David, the founder of Babylon, and Sriram, the founder of EigenLayer. But we have Babylon. We have Persistence that also announced 2 months ago that there will be a restaking hub. We have Picasso Network that is enabling restaking for Solana. We have Landslides that is doing restaking for AVAX, for Avalanche. So I think, they're already kind of preparing. And obviously, there's going to be probably outperformers and underperformers. But that's a hot category, I think, this year. And I feel like Cosmos is well positioned in that field. Like if I were to compare it, for example, like gaming or restaking, I think in the restaking field, Cosmos is super strong. Whereas in gaming, there's huge upside, for more projects to join and launch. So that's how I see that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we actually, I've met the Babylon team as well with you. We've actually also, I don't know, we did an AMA with the Babylon team in the CoinBureau Discord about 2-3 weeks ago. I'll leave a link in the description for the people as well. But yeah, I think it's an amazing, really exciting project. And the restaking narrative, like you come back to it, yes, it's going to be popping off crazy. Like Eigenlayer, everyone's going crazy for Eigenlayer right now. And also projects raised on Eigenlayer, like they're going crazy valuations. And we've spoken to quite a few. But I think that the whole potential of Babylon here is the point of restaking on the biggest, most secure network in the world, right? And unlocking the potential for lots of Bitcoin that's just been held and hodled, this whole digital gold narrative to be actually utilized for security of these other chains and proof of stake security of these other chains to run proof of stake services. So you unlock a lot of potential there for coins that otherwise would have just been hodled. So yeah, it's a very exciting project. It's launching, soon, hopefully going through testnets and whatnot. But yeah, that's one to watch. I do want. What was the one you saw on Solana again? That was
Picasso network.
Picasso network. Okay, awesome.
Picasso,
need a DYO on that. Sounds exciting.
I think it is also important to mention, though. I think that restaking is such a new thing. And it's going to be risky. It's going to be a huge experiment, right? Like anything in crypto, I think people should always consider it as like a huge experiment. And
it's binary, bro. It's either going to be like gigabrain stuff, or it's going to implode. And I don't know, because there's questions around restaking as well, like layer upon risk, about smart contract risk, slashing risk, all this kind of stuff. You know, financial innovation. Exactly. Is it rehypothecation? Is it subprime mortgage crisis on the Ethereum chain? I don't know, but. Yeah, look, I mean, if you listen to it, if you actually dive into it, it's mind-blowing stuff, really, when you go and dive into the tech of, especially restaking on Eigen. Yeah.
There's also, by the way, there's so the Cosmos Hub I mentioned, they're also like in this kind of narrative, and also the Ethos stake. Not sure if you heard about them, but Ethos is basically leveraging Eigenlayer technology, right? So similar how Lorenzo protocol is leveraging Babylon technology, Ethos is going to leverage Eigenlayer technology to launch a Cosmos L1 that is secured and secures other chains using restaked ETH. I think that's also a very interesting one. And obviously there's going to be more and more competition. And one other big launch that I think is probably going to have the biggest by far impact for Cosmos and maybe crypto this year, I think it's going to be Berachain. Like Berachain,
Berachain,
they're going to be big.
Unicorn status, bro. Unicorn status.
Yes. I mean,
you invest in Bera, right?
I did invest in Bera.
Yeah.
I did invest in Bera.
It's very exciting about that.
Yeah, and I think when they launch, which I think is even this quarter or like next quarter, Q2, it's going to have a big impact. And they're also similar to the Celestias and Say Networks, full-on Cosmos chain. But they're not necessarily bragging about it, right? They just do their own thing. They build their own stuff. They have their proof of liquidity algorithm, and just huge ecosystem, reach, community, massive project. So excited for that one.
I remember reading somewhere that the way Berachain went about their launch, they go to market with from a meme, the Bera meme, and then out into this. And of course, the fact that it's developing this new consensus mechanism, right, which is quite exciting, like a more inclusive kind of consensus mechanism, proof of liquidity. So, yeah, I'm excited for that one, man. When is the launch, do you think? Have they announced it?
I think it's Q2. So I think from the ones I mentioned, I think Saga is actually happening in April, Minute. Babylon, I think, is more like Q3, I would say, more realistically. And Bera is probably Q2.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to put those onto my roadmap for launches. Okay, so obviously some of these projects are launching, right? Some of them are potentially also going through airdrops, like you say, Saga right now. So in terms of airdrops, and also airdrops is pretty big on the Cosmos ecosystem right now. There's lots of projects that are doing airdrops, incentivized testnets, that kind of stuff, point systems. So what's your airdrop strategy? Because there are so many out there, and it can be so hard to keep track of it in general, right? So how do you go about it?
Yeah. Well, I would say I'm more like an airdrop optimizer and not like an airdrop farmer, because farming airdrops is literally a full-time job, right? It's just totally crazy.
And lots of risk sometimes as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then also you set yourself kind of expectations for putting in all this work, and then it doesn't work out. You don't get anything, or it's not worth much. You get frustrated, and you're like, yeah. But my strategy is basically to just look at what are kind of the easy things I can do, and how can I optimize, right? Obviously, now I think a lot of people are aware, if you hold any coins on a centralized platform, centralized exchange, or like, the Binance staking or Coinbase staking, like, you're not qualifying yourself for airdrops, right? I think most people are like, they understand that now. Maybe not so much the newcomers, but the kind of past cycle ones definitely know that. Then I think it's also, we talked earlier about validators, and all of these chains in Cosmos, like Osmosis and Stargaze and the Cosmos Hub, Celestia, they all have their own validator economy, and their own staking, right? So what you basically have to do is you have to stake and delegate to a validator. And there's also certain rules you have to know, right? For example, delegate to a validator that's outside of the top 20, delegate to a validator that has not 0% nor 100% commission rates. There's like those kind of rules that you need to know. Because if, the worst thing you want to do is think you're optimizing for airdrops, but then do one of those mistakes and then you end up not qualifying.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my basic things. I have my strategy. I have my Atom staked. I have some Atom liquid staked. I have some Atom in LPs, right? Sometimes there are airdrops for DeFi activities. Or for example, I used Levana in the early days just to play around with it. Levana is a perp stacks, and Levana uses Pyth for the Oracle. So for just using that, I also got an airdrop, the Pyth airdrop, which was really nice. So I think my strategy is just to optimize my staking and use as many products as possible, which now is just getting out of hand because it's a lot. But yeah, just become a user, get a feeling for the product, and in that way you're also increasing your potential eligibilities for airdrops. So that's and in terms of tokens, I think Atom is definitely there. Osmo, I think as well. And I think TIA now, right? TIA and even Dime. I think TIA and Dime are also big airdrop tokens because, you have all these roll-ups on Celestia, and then you have all these roll-ups on Dimension that are launching, right?
Yeah.
So those are my top 4, I would say.
Okay, cool. So you obviously mentioned Validate. Now, obviously, you know a lot about this because and I don't know if the fans know this, but obviously, you also run a large validator service on Cosmos, Cryptocito, right? And obviously, you're really approaching over 200 million AUM now in terms of your Cryptocito. So
250, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious as to, how do you think about your staking strategy in general, right? Because obviously not just, obviously it's not just you staking right now, it's all the people who've delegated to you. So, that, first of all, that must, I guess it comes back to the question of like, running a staking validator, right? What made you decide to do that? Aren't you concerned about the risks? And then how do you manage those risks? And how do you think about staking more broadly?
That's a very good question. And the way I started was basically, after Jack onboarded me to Cosmos, I saw a couple of weeks after that there was a form circulating from Tendermint, the company, that basically said, and they hold a lot of atoms in their reserves, where you could basically apply to receive a delegation from that company to your node, right? At the time, I didn't have a node, so I was like, can I also apply there, and start a node? So I just did that, and I didn't do it myself because I'm not technical at all. And I think, like you were saying, it's a super sensitive, risky kind of a business or thing that you can do to run a validator. So you really need to know what you're doing. But luckily, through my time in China, like 2018, I met a guy randomly, literally in a shisha bar, and we became friends. And then I saw around that time they were running a validator, him and his friend, just for themselves. So when I saw that, it's like, hey, let's form a team. Let's create something new. Let's call it, Cryptocito, because Cryptocito, Cryptocito, whatever. Let's just apply and see what happens. So we applied, and then we didn't hear anything for like 6 weeks. And then suddenly the node is in the active set. And that was amazing, right? And like we got into the set. And from there, we started to make content. My CTO, Jonas, who is an absolute machine, he got all into Cosmos chains, and we started running nodes on Osmosis in the very early days, and Juno Network, Genesis, all these big kind of chains from the 2021 cycle. So yeah, that's how I got into it. But you definitely need a technical person to run that with you, or to make sure that there's no mistakes. Yeah, because there's a risk of getting slashed. We actually experienced that once. We did a full reimbursement in the bear market, which was a very, very tough pill to swallow. But we did a full reimbursement for all our delegators on the FMOS network that was in, I think, May last year. That was a very, very terrible incident in a bear market where you're already kind of feeling like a little bit frustrated from everything, right? But yeah, and like I was saying, the validator business is not easy. In a bull run, if you look at some of the numbers, you're like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, this is an amazing business. But we've been, throughout the past 2 years, throughout this bear market, really suffering a lot financially, but also simply because, there's not too much excitement and progress, right? But we pulled through, and we're coming out of it strong. We grew our team. We're 8 people now. We have a whole governance department. We have a content department. We just hired our 3rd DevOps engineer. So the team is growing, and yeah, it's not been easy, but we managed to survive the bear. So that's good.
That's good, man. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, most people would have oh shit, I have to reimburse that. And like most people would have thought to themselves, well, I'll probably just I can't make it in this bear market. Whereas I think that you guys had the longer term view, right? It's like reputation's everything,
exactly.
Right? And these users and these people are going to delegate their stake to you. These delegators, are going to basically, in the long term, if they see you do this, they know that you're good for your word. And I guess this is from the perspective of someone who actually runs a large validating service, for newbies and users who considering, delegating to validators, what are the top criteria you would say this is what you need to focus on and what you need to DYOR and when you are trying to find a good validator?
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of validators, right? There's like validators that are super technical and only do technical contributions. So you won't find them on Twitter. They're like probably the unsung heroes sometimes. So I think if you're technical and you can do really deep research, look for validators that are like contributing on a highly technical level, right? Because those are the ones that secure and make sure that the IBCs is running smooth, that the relayers are running smooth. They're monitoring for any type of kind of vulnerabilities or risks, right? So I think there's like those hardcore technical validators, and they're like amazing. They definitely need your delegations. Then there's more like content-driven validators, right? Which is something that we are, even though we do have a tech team, obviously, and we do our best to like contribute as much as possible. But we're focused more on the governance and on the content side of things from our validator, right? So yeah, governance is also a very, very big topic. That's, I think, where we're probably one of the best validators in Cosmos, because we take this very, very serious. We go through all the forum posts, we go through all the on-chain proposals, we evaluate pros and cons, and we publicly and transparently share our kind of reasoning on why we vote on certain proposals, right? That's also a big one. So people should look at that, right? Like, yes, there are validators that also jump on certain things in the short term. And like you say, I think one of the most important things is also to kind of build up trust with your validator. For example, we didn't promise that we will do reimbursements in case of slashing events. There are certain validators that do the opposite. They say that they're fully slash protected, but when they actually get slashed, you don't hear from them. So I think building relationships, maybe attaching a face to the validator, right? They're always coming to events. Usually, there's always team members from most validators. So I think those are some things, right? And not just look at who has the lowest commission or who has stake drop in their name, right? There's also some validators that just run validators and squeeze delegations by promising an airdrop, which then just farms them delegations, but doesn't actually turn out to be a solid airdrop, right? So I think I would probably stay away from those. Maybe do a little bit if you want to ape into airdrops, fine, but like don't bet all your life savings on validators who promise airdrops. And yeah, try to learn as much and get in touch as much with your validators and vibe with them and see what their contributions are. And if you align with that, then delegate to them.
That's cool, man. And going back to slashing, what's your view on slashing insurance?
That's something that we definitely are working hardcore on. I think for us, like, for validators to sustain, right, you kind of need to have a runway of, I would say, 3 to 5 years, one cycle runway at least. So you really need to see this as a business. And I think one mistake that we did in the previous run was to not build that runway. So we didn't really cash anything out. And then at the bottom of the bear, we got slashed. So we kind of had tokens, that we liquidated, or some tokens that we can just use to reimburse. I also put my own money up for that, to make sure everyone is made whole. And that was a tough one, especially because Athmos was it 0.5%, but I think they have some of the highest slashing parameters in all Cosmos chains, right? So it was really bad. But I think that's one thing we're working on right now, is to build up a slash protection so that we can actually fully be insured on that end,
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Especially I think it's one of these people to consider, especially if you are going to be staking such a large portion of your stack. It's like whether you want to consider slashing insurance. Moving then on now to another big thing. I mean, I know, so you run Cryptocito, you run a validating service, and this is interesting because Cosmoverse, right? This big event that happens every year in a different location. It's a Cosmos focused event that everyone in the ecosystem comes together. I was speaking to Valentin from Quasar, and he said it's just run by you four guys. So 4 guys running the entire Cosmoverse event every single year. And obviously, this year's a pretty particularly exciting one because it's going to be in Dubai later in this year. Come to Dubai, Habibi, October. And you guys are working on this one. As obviously, Coin Bureau is also going to be a media partner. We're trying to work with you guys on that as well. We're going to be trying to be attending and helping bring some attendees and speakers. But so let's talk about Cosmoverse later this year. Why, what should we be looking out for? Can you give us some of the high levels, like attendee numbers and some of the plans you guys have got for Cosmoverse?
Yeah, so like I was saying, we change location every year, which means we only come to Dubai once, and that's it, right? Which means we want to really maximize our impact here. So we're working really hard, and as we grow and our awareness grows, Cosmos grows, the ecosystem grows, I think every year is naturally going to be bigger. Just to put this into context, I think the first one in Lisbon in 2021 in Portugal, we had 700 people, and it was a 2-day conference. 2022 in Medellin, Colombia, we had 1,500 people, and it was a 3-day conference. Last year in Istanbul, even though it was a really dark time in the market, very dried out. We had the same number, around 1,500 people, but we also had a 2-day hackathon, right? So we had 3 days conference plus 2-day hackathon. If you count all these people together, it's probably 1,800 people or something. But this year in Dubai, given that it's bull run, it's Dubai, it's probably Cosmos season at some point. Again, later this year, we talked about bearer chains and the Babylon's launching. I think those will have huge impacts on general awareness. We're shooting for 2,500 to 3,000 people, and I think that's actually realistic here in Dubai. It's a huge market. We have this huge month coming up in April with token, and there's going to be 15,000 crypto people here. We're very excited for that.
Yeah, and you also, the concept you guys have got for this Cosmoverse is also to be, not necessarily just focused on the Cosmos ecosystem. You want to try and bring as many different kind of, layer ones and ecosystem builders into the space and to actually in one space, right? So it's not trying to, although it's called Cosmoverse, the goal is to make it truly multi-chain, right? And people from different communities.
Yes.
And obviously that's also just after Future Blockchain and other events in Dubai in October. So, we're really excited for that, man.
Yeah, it's right after GitEx, which is also a general tech conference. And like you're saying, the biggest difference this year compared to the previous years is not only that we keep pushing more to get, Ethereum people, Near people, Polkadot people, right? But also to get TradFi. And we're also focusing more this year. Actually, we're only focusing on verticals and narratives, right? So this time we'll have a modularity track, we'll have a restaking track, we'll have an AI track. So we're actually going out there and we're not saying, hey, we're the Cosmos conference of the year, right?
Yeah.
That's maybe nice, but maybe that's not enough, right? We're actually going out and say, hey, you want to meet the best tokenization projects and RWA plays in crypto, but also specifically in Cosmos, and you want to talk to the leading minds and contributors in AI, then come to Cosmoverse, right? And it's enterprise, it's businesses, it's crypto developers and teams. But yeah, with Cosmos underneath, right? That's kind of our base layer, and we're just building on top of that. So yeah, that's our strategy for this year.
So the number to beat is 1,500 people from Istanbul last year.
Yeah.
We need to get at least. So target is to at least over 3,000.
3,000 would be huge, yeah. But like you were saying, like we're literally 5 people now. We're literally 5 people who are doing this. Like, I love this number, but I also know 3,000, 4,000 is a different animal than 1,500 people, right? The whole logistics behind, the security behind, the staff members, setting up this whole place takes like probably 3 to 4 days. It's going to be huge. So a lot of work.
I mean, credit to you guys, man, the dedication to take this on, because I know we did an IRL event, 2 IRL events previously, 2022 and 2023. And even just the planning and the logistics around that, I was like, damn, no, I can't. I prefer like a web-based business, this IRL stuff, a lot of stuff to go on. But yeah, I think it's cool and I think that's what's really great about this. And this is how you met, especially I was speaking to you, and like how you met a lot of these early stage projects of like the likes of, Celestia, the likes of Eclipse, like these other guys who are raising like crazy valuations around these projects that are like getting a lot of attention. You met them at the ground level at these IRL type events. So as much as we operate online, I think that these, unique, bespoke, in-person meetups and gatherings are where you can really get the really early inside alpha, meet the really important builders in the space and form the right connections with them.
Yeah. I mean, Celestia came to Cosmoverse Lisbon in 2021 when they were still called Lazy Ledger. And they were talking about modularity, and like it took me so long to like understand it. I did an interview then in December 2021. But obviously, like they were just so ahead of their time, right? Babylon came to Medellin 2022, Stride as well. Like they kind of had their coming out of stealth time, at the conference. So yeah, I agree. Like I'm a big believer in physical events. Like I was saying earlier about my crypto story. When I moved to Shanghai, China in 2018, I learned and met most of the best people that I'm still in touch with today and work with sometimes at physical events, whether it's meetups or conferences. But I believe a lot in that, right? I believe a lot in content and in IRL meetings and meetups. I think this is the best place and best entry point into crypto.
100%, man. I think it's also that you can only really get a sense of the passion of people and the underlying how important people are in the space, and they want to what you're trying to change when you go to these early stage meetups. I remember when I went to in 2017, 2018, when I first moved to Toronto as well. I went to the local Bitcoin meetups. Just the passion behind these people, or some of these OGs in the space there as well. I was like, damn, this is a really exciting. I mean, this technology is transformative, but also the people behind it. These aren't the kind of people that are just, the tourists who come and go easily with regards to the market waves. These are the kind of people who really breathe the passion, and actually meeting them in person is like very, very helpful to give you the right perspective of why you're in the space and why crypto is the future. So obviously Cosmoverse Dubai, we're both based in Dubai. Keen to get your perspective on, Dubai as a place to live, and then also as a crypto ecosystem. And I think most people may find this interesting, but me and Cito actually, not only do we live in the same building, but we live on the same floor. So we have a pretty, we breathe eco, we breathe crypto. Yeah, what?
We are aligned.
We're aligned. We're adjacent. Yeah. So how's it been? Because you moved to Dubai in April last year, right?
Yes, March 1st, actually. Like it's
March
just
1st,
been my 1 year anniversary. But yeah, man, honestly, it gives me 2018 Shanghai vibes in the sense that here is just now where crypto is happening, you know, like there's literally events all the time, people traveling through all the time. There's a brunch with Ilya, the new co-founder. The next day there's something with David from Babylon, right? You go to some of these, I go to some of these. I meet you. I mean, the fact that we're neighbors is crazy. Like,
yeah, it's crazy, bro.
I mean,
and there's
it's
other
just
people in
insane.
crypto, people who live literally like, even in just where we live in the marina side, like there's at least 4 or 5 different people we know in the crypto ecosystem who just live around there. It's like, wow, you know, it's like crypto city, bro.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's like, I think one of the most underrated things is really the amount of like quality people and networking that you can do here. And then also like just generally, obviously, you know, from a legal perspective, I think there's currently not a better legal base you can have than Dubai. It's obviously still tax friendly. I don't know how long that still is going to be the case, because they're already starting to like implement mainland corporate tax. But so I guess in like 3 to 5 years, there's probably also going to be taxes here. But for now, it's still good. And the living cost is also, I would say, yes, it's slightly more than, you know, major cities probably in Europe, like Lisbon, for example. But I guess it's still cheaper than New York City, Miami, like major cities in the US, right? So yes, it's a little bit more, but I think the quality of life here is also just amazing. The food is great. That was like the thing that surprised me the most, is like the variety of cuisines and food here, right?
Yeah, man.
You can have the best sushi in the world and the best biryani in the world, the best, even German food they have here, right?
Russian food, German food. German food.
Yes, there's a German restaurant in downtown. It's like, I literally go there, and like, I went there twice, but like, you literally go there. It's next to it's inside the 25 Hours Hotel, actually. Ernst Biergarten. And it feels like you're in Munich. It feels like you're in Munich.
Biergarten,
like,
you got your Biergarten going on there, bro. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man, cool. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I think like, in terms of like, obviously cost of living, it's relatively high, but people taxes, right, obviously can't account for that. Salaries are relatively high as well. Even if they do implement taxes, right? I mean, we're talking about 5% here or there, even if they come to personal side. Like, there's many things that people that they will pay a lot in terms of, pay something in taxes for the benefit of. I mean, obviously, the fact that the ecosystem here is a great ecosystem, the crypto ecosystem, but more just generally, obviously, things like no crime, good infrastructure, good location, airport you can fly anywhere you want, especially for people who travel. And yeah, I think that it's cool that now crypto is coalescing and like kind of bringing this as its breeding ground for a lot of exciting things happening in it. And obviously, there's still like slightly perceptions out there. Oh, Dubai, everyone's just moving to Dubai because of taxes, or the general crypto influencer vibe in Dubai. But that's not what it is anymore. I mean, there's lots of exciting projects, exchanges, and ecosystems that are developing out here and blossoming. And the cool thing about ecosystems is that it gets more people that can actually come here, so it actually attracts more, and you have this kind of cool networking effects within a physical location. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about the Dubai move, and it's good to be out here, man. And it's just these organic meetings that happen generally all over the time. Right? Like, how would we have met if we weren't in the same location? Because you literally you arrived here and you reached out, and we said, yeah, come around, let's have a chat.
Yes.
And now we're
here,
it's
right? It's literally 10 minutes from where we both live, I guess. But
that's why you think I live there, bro. Yeah.
That's really the thing, like the safety aspect, right? I think that's something that people really only understand when they're here in Dubai. And I'm German. Germany is not known to be like a dangerous place, right? It's actually known to be like a relatively safe place. Between Germany and here, day and night. Like here, you can literally leave everything. Like, you don't have to worry about that at all, right? And I think Europe is like going the other direction right now. Also, with friends I have in like France and other countries there, you really need to watch out. So I think the safety aspect, and it's clean here, like that's something that's really underrated. And like you're saying, there also, I think the government is proactively trying to turn Dubai aggressively into a crypto hub, which it already is, but attracting the big businesses, right? The Coinbases, Binance is already here, but the big businesses, they want to get them here. So
Yeah.
they already got Coin Bureau and Stakecito and Cryptocito, but
yeah, we
they want
gotta
more.
fly the line, and then we gotta sing the praises, bring as many people to the ecosystem as possible. It only benefits us, you know. So
Yes.
long Dubai, man, long Dubai, Dubai bull
Long
market
Dubai,
for
yes.
sure. Well, yeah, man, Sita, man, this has been a really interesting conversation. We can go on forever, man. You know, and we probably will, you know, generally, whenever we chat, and I'll reach out and like give me some inside alpha on this particular project or that. But yeah, it's been a
Anytime.
great conversation. Yeah, and as I'll say, guys, obviously, like I'll say again, if you're not following Cryptocito, you need to be doing that right now. We'll link to it below because that's where you're going to get in all the inside scoops and alpha. And obviously, also, if you're considering using a validator, check out Stakecito. We'll link to that as well. But yeah, man, Sito, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming on. Maybe I'll see you in the corridor later, man.
Yeah, no, I'm really honored. Like, you know, like I said earlier, and like even I remember the first time I walked into the office, like just seeing Guy and meeting you, you know, like the whole team. First of all, I was super nervous to like just see you guys, and like I'm generally like always like a nervous person, even like when I'm talking or going on stage or whatever. But like, yeah, it's been amazing to like, you know, even call you guys my friends at this point, I guess. You know, we're going out, we have dinner sometimes, and then just talk, and then, you know, I think it's really cool to like be here and like share this and you know, have this platform with you guys. Really appreciate that. So thanks a lot for the invite, and looking forward to
worries, man. Yeah,
everything.
Looking forward to form this relationship stronger. The CETA Bureau going strong. Looking forward to
Bureau.
Cosmoverse. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did, guys, but I'd love to get your feedback. So let me know, which projects in Cosmos are you most bullish on, and which other layer ones do you want us to delve deeper into in the next video? Let me know in those comments down below. And of course, if you like this video, then like this video. And don't forget to subscribe so you're next in line to receive more of these Coin Bureau vibes. So until next time, guys, bye-bye.